Welcome back for another session of My Time, and today I am going to show you how to repress broken makeup. Now, I'm sure that some of you might have experienced when you've got your powder and you just bump it that little too far and it falls on the floor and shatters, similar to, say, this one. Well, I'm going to show you how to repress it back into its container, making it close to as good as new. We are also going to trial it using some hair chalk. Now, I personally have never done it using hair chalk, but we're going to see if it works out today. So to repress makeup, you will need the following: some rubbing alcohol, preferably 70 proof or above. This is 70 proof. A mixing bowl, obviously your broken makeup, some paper towel, and some type of implement. I'm using a broken pair of tweezers to mix the product up. I have also got a little container and a spoon because trying to put the alcohol from this bottle directly into it can sometimes mean too much. So let me pull you down and zoom you in and you can see how this is done. Okay, so we're going to start with the makeup. As you can see, this is a foundation or translucent powder. We are going to empty this into our container. Make sure you get all of it out of the tin. This can also be done for eyeshadows or any type of pressed powder. Though please note that sometimes it can slightly change the formula, so sometimes it's best to try it out on a little bit before you do it on all of your shadows. So it's currently like this in the bowl. We are going to mush this up, break up all the large pieces. We want it to be essentially a fine powder. So this might take a few minutes, so we're just going to zoom through this quickly. Okay, so this has got this down to a bit more of a finer powder. Obviously there are still some lumps in here, but we are now going to add our alcohol. Now I don't want to just pour it in because I don't want to add too much. And this top can be a little bit quick. So we're going to just pour some into this little container here. And I'm going to use my little spoon to scoop and put some into here. Now, just a reminder, with eyeshadows, you're generally not going to need that much. But this was a broken powder that was quite close to full, so there's quite a lot of product in here. So obviously, the more product, the more alcohol you are going to need. The concept of this is that you want to wet it down so it will bind back together. So you don't want it to be sopping wet, you want it to be more of a cream consistency. So let's add a bit of alcohol, not too much, and we'll start by giving it a stir. As you can see, that was definitely not enough. So I'm probably going to say we're going to need an additional few of these. So I've added another 2 scoops, and let's see how that goes. And sometimes it looks like it's not enough, and very quickly it becomes enough. So we'll see how this goes. As you can see, it is starting to bind together, but that's definitely not enough. We'll add a bit more. And we'll keep mixing it up. As you can see, the bits that were much finer have easily mixed together, and these bits that were still not fully crushed down have been left to last. That's why you want to really crush it down as much as you can. Let's just pour the rest that I have in here. Hopefully we'll be getting close to having enough. We're getting there. Might just add a tiny, actually, this might be enough. It's definitely enough that we could crush it back into our palette. Let's have a little bit of a test. Might add a tiny, tiny little bit more. So let's see if I can. Just a tiny little bit more. Okay, that's probably better. You see how this looks? It's kind of all sticking together if you push it together. And it will probably stick a lot better into our pan. So we get our pan back and we start by adding it in. We might actually have to add a tiny touch more. Tiny touch more. We really want it to be better. That's better. We want it to be quite easily to bind together. But like I said, you don't want it too wet and soppy. You want it to be more like it's just bound together nicely. Okay, so let's just add onto there. See how a lot better binded that is. Put all of this down onto here. So right now there is obviously a bit of a alcohol smell, but this will dissipate as the product dries. So let's have a look. I did wash and sanitize my hands before doing this, especially if you are planning to touch the makeup, so nothing can grow on here. You can also actually use watered down alcohol in a little spritzer. If somebody gives you makeup as a present, you can actually sanitize it by using alcohol in a spritzer. Okay, so we've got all of the product back in here. Now we are going to use our paper towel to squish it in. And this will suck up some of the alcohol, as you can see. So you want to push it in quite hard to pack it in. And you want to suck up as much alcohol as you can. Sometimes you can even use something a bit harder that's of a similar shape to push it even further down. Okay, and once you've done, you'll have something like this. Now, at the moment it's still wet, so even though I rub it and you can see some of the product, it will take probably about 24 hours to dry. So leave the lid off for about the next 24 hours, let it dry, and then this should be as good as new. So let me give my container a little bit of a clean out. And we are going to see if we can do the same thing with this hair chalk I have here. So, as you can see, this hair chalk is quite broken up and there's actually a bit of hair in it. So let's chuck this into our container. Same thing as before, you want to make sure you get all of it out. There's definitely nowhere near as much in this one as there was the last one. So let's break it up. So we are going to need nowhere near as much alcohol. And this would be very similar process to what you would do with an eyeshadow, and the very similar amount to what you would have if you were doing an eyeshadow. Okay, so let's put a touch of alcohol. Not too much. That is almost too much, so we will add just a touch. See, I've added hardly any. Mix that up. Okay, so this one here is quite simply all powdered onto my brush, onto my stick, which is very common for eyeshadows to do. So now we have this one. Put it back into the container. Push it down a bit. Okay. Grab our clean paper towel and we will push it down. As you can see, the alcohol is causing a lot more pigmentation to come out of this one, which does sometimes happen with eyeshadow as well. You will get quite a lot more pigmentation coming out than we did with the powder. Push it right down. Okay, there we go. And once again, you want to leave the lid off of this for the next 24 hours to let it dry. So let's pull you back up and we will finish this up. So that is how you repress makeup. So this technique can be used for shattered makeup, broken makeup, or makeup that you have managed to hit quite a substantial amount of pan, which means you've used up quite a lot in the middle and you're finding that the product is being quite caught in the outer areas of the packaging and you are unable to use it to its best ability. So break it up, squish it into the middle of your pan and you can get the most out of your makeup products. So that's all we've got for you today and we'll see you next week for another session of My Time. Bye!